Show with David Gorby. Courtside with Coach Crist. And sexy and funny and smart as can be. Courtside with Coach Crist. He's talking with special guests week after week. Courtside with Coach Crist. So switch to NRN and take a long peek. Courtside with Coach Crist. Courtside with Coach Crist. Courtside with Coach Crist. Courtside with Coach Crist.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 29th edition of Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist. That is Dave Gorby. We're at a neat place tonight called the Southside Junction Tap House here in Fayetteville, West Virginia, right on Court Street. Gore, pretty nice place. I have eaten here before.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Another new place to come to.
That's right. Come on out, get you some good grub, nice atmosphere, and, of course, your choice of good cold legal beverages. Good place to be. Yep, pretty neat place. We've been in here a few times, listened to some bands and that sort of thing. Really neat place. So you ought to come on out to Southside Junction, check it out. I am, again, Greg Crist. This is Dave Gorby, and we do this show each and every week. What we like to focus on, of course, is our local high school, middle school athletes, and we pick our athlete of the week. We cover some ball games and that sort of thing, but we also like to goof off on here a little bit and have a little bit of fun. And the first thing we like to do is throw out some of our thank yous to folks that help us with this show. Of course, Mr. Steve Crozier, Mike Dunlap, Frank Fear, Mark Parsons, Dale Wolfley, Greg Tidd, and the infamous himself, Tex Williams. These guys always help us with guests, help us get things together, and always very supportive, so we appreciate them. Also want to mention to you to make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, and also on Facebook. You can go in there and give us a follow and a like or whatever it is they do on these things. That helps us out as well. And again, we talked about having our special guests on. Tonight we have a gentleman who has spent a lifetime in baseball. He's now written a captivating book. That's the book right there, and it's a book about his. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but his adventures in the world of baseball. We'll just put it at that. And his name, of course, is Jim Holland. Anybody that knows anything about baseball in West Virginia and the Appalachian League and the Prospect League, they know about Jim Holland. He's been around for a long, long time. He's a Hall of Famer in the Appalachian League. And we'll get Jim on here in just a little bit, talk a little bit about his book and his career in baseball. We'll also be talking to Dr. Crist about the athletic director activity stuff up at WVU. Gorp, they hired a new guy today. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we got to give them a chance, don't we?
I don't know. People up there seem to be pretty quick to draw the line, man.
I know, man. I guess they had people, certain people in what am I trying to say? Like, I think they had an idea of somebody, but like,
not sure it worked out.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to the AD game all the time.
And I don't think most people realize how important a role it is when you talk about fundraising and facilities and all that kind of stuff. And most people give Lyons credit for the facilities part of things, but they criticize him over the coaches or the coach and the amount of money put out there in a new contract and all that sort of thing. He came out and defended himself the other day on Happy Kirchville show. And he didn't hold back.
Right.
He let him have it. And it's been awfully silent up there since then. They haven't said much about it in rebuttal to him. So it almost makes you believe that maybe he's telling the truth. And from what I hear, he pretty much is telling the truth. And that's just the way things go in that world. And that's what Dr. Crist is going to talk about tonight. He's going to talk about these athletes and these athletic directors and some of the things that are taking place up there at WVU and really not just WVU, but everywhere in college athletics. ADs are coming and going. Coaches are coming and going. Millions of dollars are flying back and forth. There's regroupings as far as the conferences are concerned. Big money being thrown out there by these networks. Another thing Lyons was criticized for was the NIL not getting that set up.
Well, it's a new part of the game.
Right. And he, like any of us, he probably didn't really have a grasp on how it was going to work until you're there and see it. And then you're like, okay, we got to do this, and this. I don't know that he realized that at the time. I think it just kind of snuck up on him just a little bit.
Well, he's also been on these committees. I didn't know he was on I knew he was on. I didn't know the name, but apparently he was on a lot of committees, so he was probably a little old school thinking a little bit.
Right.
And not to he just got to get with the times a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
And like you said, kind of came on quick.
Yeah, come on quick, and they just got to learn. They're like coaches; they got to learn as they go. Sometime, and I think that's what Neil Brown's doing as well. I think he's learning as he goes, and hopefully, if he learns lessons from these things, he might be able to get them fixed. If he don't,
we'll see.
we'll see. We were talking about Holgerson the other night. One of the first things he had to do was start getting rid of some of his buddies. Once he did that, he started having success. Just because they're your buddies don't mean they can coach.
Right.
So anyway, also like we often do and always do is we like to go out to our chopper in the sky, our one eye in the sky, Muggy McLeod, and of course his faithful sidekick, Misty Rains. They always give us the weather and traffic updates, and I don't know if he's in the helicopter tonight. I haven't heard it flying around anywhere, but we're going to check in with Muggy McLeod right now and see what's going on up in the sky. Muggy?
Good evening, Coach. This is Muggy McLeod with your one eye in the sky, Chopper 1 NRN traffic and weather report. I am currently semi-grounded due to high winds, but I am traveling briskly in the metropolitan Pittsburgh, Wheeling, Morgantown area once again, bumming for gas money from state elected officials. We are currently leaving the Top Golf area where 6.5 of my swings were decent and only 3.5 of them were absolutely horrible. However, my permanent neck condition from the experience will live with me through infamy. As we move forward, back toward the Ohio River, traffic is heavy as usual and crappy as usual, with periods of road construction and horrible drivers from Pennsylvania and Ohio clogging the left lane at either high rates of speed or slow rates of speed. Either way, very, very annoying, especially for someone who has road rage conditions like your friend Richard Rhodes.
Yep,
As we pass through the Wheeling Tunnel, it is as clogged up as Gorby's sink drain from the neckbeard hair after a nice springtime trimming.
Dang.
And, as I mentioned earlier, the Morgantown area is still swimming with excitement, or a lack thereof, of the announcement of their new athletic director, who happens to be named after my sister-in-law's wiener dog, Ren. So we'll see just how that works out in the end. I hope he has a nose like Ren for success and bringing in big money for NIL players to be paid highly to compete with the rest of the world.
Right.
Now switching over to the weather. Tonight's weather has been brought to you by Top Golf of Pittsburgh. If you're ever in the area and want to go to Top Golf, mention this ad and receive one free swing per hour. You won't actually be allowed to hit a ball during that swing, but you are allowed to take one free swing. So please mention our ad.
Deal,
Get the word out about the NRN Network and Muggy McLeod. Anyway, weather here today is pretty crappy, with more crappy weather coming our way as the week progresses, and as that big nasty storm brews up again and heads over the East Coast, making us all miserable as usual. Okay, Coach, that does it for me, Muggy McLeod, and our co-pilot, Misty Rains, for your NRN Chopper 1, One Eye in the Sky, traffic and weather report. You guys have a good day.
All right, Muggy McLeod checking in with us from, where do you say was that, Pittsburgh, flying around Pittsburgh?
Somewhere
Up there at Pittsburgh at the golf. He's going to have to get a little better attitude about the weather. It's always crappy. He gives always crappy forecasts, and it's not always crappy. Sometimes it's good. It's cold, but it's not crappy. So he's going to have to take a little more positive approach. I think we'll have to talk to him about that. Maybe Misty Rains can get him straightened out.
You think so?
Well, the only time she talks really is when she's dogging on him. So maybe she can dog on him a little bit about these weather forecasts. I mean, I know it's not always, sun and warm temperatures, but at least, like you say, it ain't always cold and nasty either. But anyway, we appreciate Muggy McLeod calling in from the One Eye in the Sky, Chopper 1, NRN weather forecast and traffic update. We always appreciate that guy. Good job, Muggy McLeod. Our athlete of the week, we always choose each and every week one of our high school athletes, sponsored by Gino's Pizza. Gino's gives them a free certificate for pizza. They give them a free coupon for Tudor's biscuit. Also, a nice certificate that they can frame up and put up on their wall. And, of course, they get their name out on the air, and millions and millions of people will hear it, and it'll change their lives forever. But as we like to say, Dave, really don't change their lives. They just get a free pizza and a biscuit. So, but that's good enough. Anyway, last week's athlete of the week was a young man from over at Greenbrier East. His name is Adam Seams, and we know from history that Adam is a tremendous basketball player. But what some people don't know is he's a great soccer player as well.
Yeah.
And they won the state championship, and he had a vital part in that state championship. So, and we talked to Adam Monday night over at the Coalfield Conference Media Day, and he's just a heck of an athlete. He's a phenomenal athlete.
And that's why that was one of the things Lucas asked him was like, how's it feel?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And he's a little bit backward on the air, surprisingly enough. He didn't want to get on and talk too much, but yeah, a good kid, and like I said, heck of an athlete. And you guys, I know at Oak Hill, we're kind of hoping he'd stick with soccer and just work on that to get ready for college instead of playing basketball. You guys getting ready to tip it off. Gorb, how's things looking? I know you've been practicing for a while now.
Yeah, we got a scrimmage on Saturday, but man, just three more practices and
It's game time.
it's game time.
Yep. Sneaks up on you, don't it?
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about Monday night with the media day over there, how quickly this comes about and how quickly it comes and goes. And I coach long enough to know, what's going on with that. But anyway, look forward to seeing you guys play and covering some of your games. It's going to be fun. Covering some of this Coalfield Conference is going to be fun. And covering some of these athletes of the week will be fun. So anyway, congratulations to Adam last week. And we've got our athlete of the week this week that we'll announce after we come back from break. When we come back from break, we'll talk to Dr. Crist and probably have an audience caller. We'll check in on that, see how that goes. But until then, we need to get us a break in here real quick, catch your breath. And we'll be back here in just 1 minute with a house call with Dr. Crist. Stay with us. We shall return. Crist. That's Dave Gorby. We are in the Southside Junction Tap House tonight in Fayetteville, right here on Court Street. Great place to be. Neat little place. Good food, good atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Good cold beverages. You need to come on out and enjoy some of the cuisine here. It's good food. We've eaten here a couple times, and nice place. Good grub. I got my menu right here underneath. I'm going to order something before we exit this
Don't
place.
forget now.
I won't. Trust me, when it comes to the food, I forget about everything else, but not that.
Okay.
All right, I think at this time, Gorb, we've got an audience caller on hold here. I'm going to check in here and see if we can figure out who it is.
Hello, Coach Crist. I'm Bear Bryant,
Bear Bryant.
head coach at LSU, Louisiana Swamp Dweller University. I want to call in tonight, talk to you about all these here football coaches. They're getting fired, they're moving to other schools. It seems strange to me that they get fired for not winning, and then another school just comes in, swaps them right up, and gives them millions of dollars to coach again. It's as if they saying, well, he didn't succeed there, but he gonna succeed here because we different. Well, coach, they ain't different. If a fella can coach, he can coach. If he ain't forgot how. If he can't, he can't coach, and he ain't gonna learn overnight. I'm not so sure there's not some sort of a conspiracy theory out there with the movers and the universities and the realtors to keep these guys and their families moving all over the country every 2 or 3 years, it seems like. In the words of Leo DeRosa, if you don't win, you gonna be fired. If you do win, you only putting off the day you gonna be fired. You take that there coach you got up at WVUs, all these people saying, fire him, fire him, fire him. Now granted, he ain't won a ton of games. But you gonna fire him, and you gonna bring in who? Bear Bryant, Vince Lombardo, Frankie Isaacs, Jason Blankenship. You really think they want to move up there to Morgantown? I don't know. Would they do any better? I don't know. All I know is it gets tiring seeing them get fired, rehired somewhere else, fired again, rehired somewhere else, etc., etc., etc. Speaking of coaches getting fired, Coach, how'd you hang on so long? Based on your one-loss record, I figured you got canned a long time ago. I'm just kidding you, Coach. Before we got the best playing, you be an assistant coach, they ain't got no pressure. They rarely get fired. They just kick back and coach and enjoy it.
There you go, Gorb.
When you get that Dr. Crist on, ask him how that coach had lasted so long down there in Alabama. Oh, wait, he never loses. That's how. Okay, never mind. Just ask him, what's the latest up there on the WVU situation? We're hearing things down here in the swamp that they done got him a new athletic director. We'd like to know what's going on up there. One more question, Coach. I'm trying to whip up some old-fashioned bread pudding, and I need to know if I should use some regular ground cinnamon or just some cinnamon and sugar. You can text me, because I got to run to practice. We're getting ready to practice right now, and we're getting ready to play in the Hempfield Ganja Bowl against the Greenville left-handers. It should be a high-scoring affair. Coach, from the deep, deep South, we just want to wish you some happy holidays and bid you adieu. Good night, and thanks, Coach, for allowing me to have my voice be heard. Good night, Coach.
All right. Bear Bryant. He's got to be some relation to Bear Bryant, I'm guessing. Louisiana?
Maybe.
LSU, he said. I coach at LSU, Louisiana Swamp Dwellers University. Different LSU.
Wherever that is.
Yep, different LSU, what we're accustomed to. Normally what I do, Gorb, you know this, we take a break and I call up Dr. Crist, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and call him. It's no secret that we actually do call him and get him on the phone. Before we do that, I want to mention last week's guest, or week before last, we skipped last week due to Thanksgiving. Larry Carter, Major League Baseball coach with the Kansas City Royals, was on. He was a fun guest, had a lot of good stories, a lot of neat experiences, and we appreciate him. Also, we want to announce our Gino's Pizza Courtside with Coach Crist Athlete of the Week this week. Young boy by the name of Judah Price. And if you follow high school athletes and athletics in our area, you know who Judah Price is. And they won their semifinal matchup against North Marion. And last I checked in, it was 56-6 at halftime. I think it ended up like 56-14 or something. They called the Dogs. I quit watching at that point. Judah Price did break the state scoring record during the game. And we've talked about this. The amazing thing about that is most of the games during the season, he only played a half.
Running clock.
Yeah, running clock. Yeah, because they won their games by so much. They didn't play their guys. Same thing happened in the semifinals. And like I told you before the show comes on, if they don't win the state championship, I will be shocked because they're good.
Yeah,
they're good.
Oh, they're good.
They've got everything covered. They're big, they're strong, they're fast, great running backs, good quarterback. They're just a good high school football team. And if they, like I said, if they don't win it, I would be surprised, and I think a lot of people would be because they're just too good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try to get Dr. Crist on the phone, and we'll get his input here about the situation up in Morgantown and what's going on. I know he's going to have some things. He's an alumni, so he's got some things to say about that.
I mean, he should be a big donor if he goes on vacation for 7 weeks
Instead of going to
straight.
Maui and Spain.
Hey,
Yeah, no.
Hey, Dr.
Help
Crist,
us
what's
out.
up?
how you doing?
Doing all right. Me and Gorby have been discussing your prowess, the fact that you're an alumni at WVU, and you travel all over the world, Maui, Spain, who knows where else. We're just curious to know how much donating you're doing to the club up there right now.
How much am I donating?
Yes, we figure if you can afford to go all over the country vacationing, at least you could do support the old alma mater.
Yeah. I donate a lot of goodwill, and I send a lot of love and emotional support.
See, he needs to get with the times.
Well,
What's that?
He said you need to get with the times.
NIL money, man. We need it. We need
NIL.
it. We need it.
I'm checking with Darren to make sure our phone is okay. Go ahead and talk a little bit there, Dr. Crist.
Okay. So I'm, are they looking for donations to add up to 16 million? Is that what we're still working on?
Well, I don't know if that's the goal or not, but as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. I did see today where the new athletic director has been named, and it has been put out publicly that Neil Brown will return next season. So they're not looking to raise that money for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, we just thought we'd get your thoughts on what's going on up there.
Yeah. It's been pretty interesting and perplexing, though, too, hasn't it?
Yes, yes. We come to the conclusion that maybe this guy Wren, I can't remember his last name. Maybe he wasn't
Baker.
What is it?
Baker.
Baker.
Kind of like Swin Baker, or what was that guy's name?
Yeah.
Quinn Baker. What was his name?
I don't know who
Ball
you're talking
player.
about.
Warren Baker. We'll go with that.
Yeah, Warren Baker.
Anyway,
Wren.
This is Mr. Baker.
and Mr. Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of figure that maybe he wasn't the first choice.
That's possible. Yeah, that's possible.
I mean,
But
his
you know,
name's
they
Wren,
also
for
said-
God's sakes.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So,
Don't,
but
do not give Poland.
But they also said, this was going to take several weeks, right?
Right,
So, so part of what I was going to talk about is why, what is it that they were looking for? Why him, versus somebody like Steve Lyons, right?
Right.
So, you know what I do for a living, right? I mean,
Yep.
I work with these companies, and I would help these companies hire people. And the reason these companies would pay me so much money to help them is because they realized that the things that they were looking at and asking about weren't necessarily the things that really predicted whether or not a person would be a good employee for them, and that they would hire me to come in and I would evaluate them and be a potential employee and tell them whether or not I think they would be a good employee for them. And it would have nothing to do with their technical skills.
Right.
Right. And so with Steve Lyons, you have a guy that on the surface looked like a home run hire. I mean, think about it. When they hired him, he's a West Virginia guy. He's got contacts. He went to school there. He grew up there. He has really good training resume. I mean, he worked at the University of Alabama. He got to work at a very high profile organization, high profile team. School brings in a lot of money. money. And so when you bring him in, you're thinking, man, this guy's a home run hire. He didn't turn out to be.
Right.
And I think the reason he didn't turn out to be is because none of those things really matter.
Right. Right.
None of those things really matter. What matters is his personality. Does he get along with the people that he needs to get along with?
Yep.
Does he relate to the people that he needs to relate with? Can he do the things that we need for him to do in the way that we want him to do things?
Right.
Okay. And I think the answer to those questions is probably no.
Yep.
And it took him a while to figure that out. But what I keep hearing is that he wasn't necessarily well liked.
Yeah, I heard he had the personality of a ham sandwich.
Yeah. That I understand he came across as a little bit arrogant.
Yep.
He probably rubbed people the wrong way. And when you've got donors who are giving millions and millions of dollars to the university, you don't want to rub those people the wrong way.
Right. Right.
Right? Those people you need to have good relationships with, you need to connect with, you need to be actively building that relationship with them. And I don't think he did that. And I'm not sure he was able to do that.
Right.
So what again, on paper, it looked like a big home run hire, but that's because everybody's looking at the wrong things.
Right.
The fact that he's from West Virginia is almost 100% irrelevant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be a little bit of a drawback.
Yeah. I mean, it's really got nothing to do with it.
Right.
So now they go get this guy. And here's the other thing. I've been reading the message boards. You and I do this a lot to punish myself.
Yep.
And so, I mean, people are slamming this hire, and it's like, geez, guys, you don't even know the guy.
Yeah.
How can you be slamming him? Well, you know why they're slamming him? Oh, he's at a Conference USA school.
Right.
And your point, it's not like he's playing.
Right. One of the first headlines I saw today on a hire is whatever his name is, hired as projected to be the new AD, not from West Virginia. That's the first thing the headline said.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's got nothing to do with it. Because if he's good at building relationships
Yeah.
and he's good at all those connections,
Right.
it doesn't matter where he is.
Right.
That's what he's going to be able to do.
And he has a
he'll
history.
come in.
He has a history of being able to raise
Talk
lots of
about
money.
fundraising.
Yeah, he's a fundraising
Exactly.
guy. Yeah, that's what they need.
Exactly.
Yep.
And if you read the comments by the Baylor athletic director when he got hired at University of North Texas, he gave a glowing assessment of this guy. Apparently, he knew him personally. He said, "You're going to love him. The alumni is going to love him. The school's going to love him. The coaches are going to love him. It's going to be, you got it. This guy's an up and comer. He's a rising star." And I'm thinking that's exactly what we need.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so you get somebody who comes in and he's going to be able to, hopefully, we'll find out. I mean, hopefully he'll be able to make all those connections and build those relationships. And before you know, the fact that he's not from West Virginia makes zero difference.
Yep.
It's not going to have anything to do with it.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
Yeah,
And I guess
it doesn't
Alabama
matter.
is okay with Lyons' personality and all that because, I guess they got, in their situation, they're all like that, so he fits right in.
Dr. Crist,
Yeah, probably
Dr.
does.
Crist brought him right back to Alabama.
Right, right, brought him back down there. Yeah,
Well, and two, his job is more compliance.
right.
So I don't know if you saw I'm sure you got bored and saw the text exchange between me and Brian yesterday about, the supposed conversation that Lyons is going to have with Nick Saban.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll take place. Like you said, Nick Saban's going to be like, what that is Title IX? What is that? Yeah.
Exactly. What is that?
Yep.
And why are you bothering me with this?
Yeah, who cares? I'm not interested in that. Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure there's stuff that Lyons does and did that they like, obviously, or they took him right back without hesitation. So
Yeah.
and pay him big money. So he's doing something that they need,
Right.
But things that we need, obviously, I guess. And of course, I don't. He came out and really he spoke his mind the other day in an interview here, and pretty much laid it out there. He didn't hold back any on that. That's for sure. And I told Dave it's kind of odd that we haven't heard any rebuttals. So it's almost like those guys are like, yeah, he's kind of right.
But here's the thing. I mean, you're talking about an employment issue here, and so the employer probably can't say anything. They've been advised.
Yeah.
I'm sure the president, all those folks have been advised, don't say anything.
Right.
It only gets you into trouble. And when I read his responses in that interview, I texted Brian. I said, this to me explains why he lost his job.
Yeah.
Why he got fired. I said, because what he said tells me he is focused on minutia, details, and he can't see the big picture.
Yep.
And that he's more concerned with controlling things than he is to adapting to the new environment going on right now.
Right.
And I said, I think he and Brown are two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
To me, they're just alike.
Right.
And I just, I get why they let him go now. Because that did not, I mean, you think about that. You're supposed to be an athletic director. I mean, it's a big time position.
Yeah.
You're getting paid millions of dollars. And you come out and say that, I mean, you don't even have the skills, the people skills to know you don't burn bridges like that. This game is all about relationships. You don't come out and burn bridges like that because you never know what's going to happen.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think it's because he's clueless about things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Maybe so pompous and arrogant that he don't think he needs those relationships,
Yep.
Don't care about
Took
them.
no responsibility. Oh, other people approve this. Well, yeah. I mean, I can see that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't your decision.
Right.
What that means is you made the decision. You went in and sold it to them, and they agreed to go along with it.
Right.
That's a whole different thing than saying we were all in this room together.
Right.
We all come up with
We
this
all
idea.
decided.
That ain't what happened.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that is not what happened.
You're right. Yep. I did just get a message here. It says, if you truly care about the WVU football program in the current college football landscape with NIL, become a Country Roads Trust member today. If only 100 of us sign up as 1867 member for $18.67 per month, that's $22,404 a year.
Yeah.
There you go, Dr. Chris.
There you go.
$18 a month. $18 a month.
$18.67 a month. You can be a
Save
member.
the children.
Yep.
Save
member.
the safeties.
We are the world. Yeah. See, we're going to write a song, Gorb. I'll have to put Brian on it to write a song about. We are the world.
No.
Save the safeties.
It hasn't been another 25 years. Just hold on.
Keep a defensive lineman.
Yeah, save the defensive backs.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. We have to get on that. Maybe I'll call my friends down in Nashville that recorded our theme song.
If they're still open.
Gorby can't believe that our theme song was professionally produced in Nashville, Tennessee. By recording.
As many good studios as in that town, I can't believe that one has survived.
That's what came out. All right, we got a good guest in the wings waiting on us tonight, and he's going to come on here in just a minute and talk about a book he has written. I think you'll find that pretty interesting. Dr. Crist, we appreciate the discussion, and I know you'll be keeping an eye on things, so we will talk to you again soon.
All right, you guys take care. Have a great evening.
All right, thank you, Doctor.
All right,
love you, bye. All right, Dr. Crist calling in from Alabama.
He didn't seem interested on donating $18 a month.
Not too fired up about that 1867, was he?
No. He's an Alabama guy.
Yeah, he's probably donating to them.
I guarantee it.
I bet. Yeah, I bet he is. All right, let's get us a break in. And Gorb, while we're on break here, we're going to slide. Jim Holland's going to do the Chris Collinsworth slide in.
Yep.
And we're going to talk to Jim about his book that he has just released. And I've read about halfway through it, and it's very entertaining. It's interesting, and it's fun to see and hear some of the things that go on in the baseball world at that level. Pretty awesome stuff. All right, let's get a quick break in, and we'll come back with Jim Holland here in just 1 minute. I'm Greg Crist. That's Dave Gorby. You're watching Courtside with Coach Crist, coming to you live from the Southside Junction Tap House here in Fayetteville, West Virginia, right on Court Street. You need to come on out and try some of this food, try some of the cold beverages and the great atmosphere. We appreciate you tuning in tonight, and we shall return after these messages. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back to the Courtside with Coach Crist show. I am Greg Crist, and beside me now is a gentleman that I've known for quite some time now. And like I said earlier, if you know anything about baseball in West Virginia, baseball in the Appalachian Leagues, baseball in the Prospect League, baseball on the East Coast, you probably know a little bit about this guy. And Jim, I'm not going to read this bio completely because we won't have enough time. It's an awesome bio here. I'm just looking over some of it. His first day on the job, it says with Princeton Baseball Association, November 1st, 1991. Went through the last day on the job was 2016 in January. 24-year career in Princeton. He was considered of being the general manager of Major League Baseball affiliated Appalachian League professional baseball team, 5 seasons, 92 through 96, Cincinnati Reds affiliate, and the last 19, 97, 2015 is affiliate of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And again, I could go on here for a half an hour and read all of these accolades for Jim. And, of course, he was inducted into the Appalachian League Hall of Fame. That was in 2019. He finished up his time in baseball in the Prospect League. It's where I got to know him. I knew who he was, but I got to know him even better over there as we worked together with the minors. And now he has written this book, and I'm telling you now, you need to get you a copy of this book and check it out. Very entertaining, very interesting, and it really threads a picture together that you can visualize of your own self growing up and the turns it takes in life and how, sometimes you intend on doing one thing and end up doing something else. Anyway, enough of me talking. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jim Holland. We appreciate you showing up tonight on short notice, by the way.
Well, hey, there is closers in the bullpen you can call for.
That's right. That's right.
At noon today, I didn't know I was going to be here, but you're right. The name of the book is My Fortunate Detour.
Yep.
And the title comes from the fact that, I grew up in Dunbar, West Virginia, and kind of had this path in life that I was traveling. And you know yourself from working with the minors and all my years in pro ball that you have these kids that are 22 years old, sports management degree, trying to get their way into the business.
Yep.
And I went through life out of Dunbar into college, and then I didn't even get into baseball until I was 32 years old.
Right.
And it was all because of one intersection. You never know when that one moment's going to happen.
That's right.
And it changes your whole life.
That was my first question. Tell us how you got started. I mean, I've read it, but how you got started in baseball, in the world of baseball.
Well, like I said, just basically I was a person that after I got out of high school and college, all of a sudden you had a little money in your pocket, and I like to go to the ballpark a lot. And other sports also, the things I denied myself until then. And just one day, I just made the acquaintance of a gentleman who, we're not going to fill in all the blanks but made the acquaintance of a gentleman that less than 3 years after I met him, I was starting out in Huntington, West Virginia with the Huntington Cubs, their very first year, and just kind of learning the ropes. And then less than a year and a half later, I was a general manager of a professional baseball team in Princeton, West Virginia.
Right.
Green as grass, and by the time I come out, a polished Hall of Famer. And just 24 years went by, and then another thing happened. I decided I wanted to leave Princeton. I was 58 years old, and I had the aspirations to retire when I was 62. So I had to do something.
Right.
And one thing about me, Greg, it's really weird, is I have never quit a job and had another job in waiting.
Right.
So I left the job
left
the job in Princeton, and on the 26th of January of 16, and by March 1st of 16, I'm working for the West Virginia Miners for 4 years. Of course, I had the good fortune to meet you. We were kind of the old bucks among the young whippersnappers there on the staff, and lamenting on a lot of stuff, and got herself through it. And, but it was a great experience being with the Miners also, a different brand of baseball.
I was going to ask you about the circle of jobs and that sort of thing, and I'll let you talk a little bit about that too. But as I read through this bio thing here, I saw some stuff that I wasn't aware of, and that is the fact that you gave birth to the idea of the Mercer Cup. I didn't know that. And, of course, everybody around here has heard about the Mercer Cup and knows what it is. I had no idea Jim Holland came up with that idea.
Yeah, Jim Holland came up with that idea, and it is in the book, and it developed in the space of about 10 minutes. Another fortunate detour, I happened to be in a restaurant in Princeton at a certain time, ran into a fellow that ran a trophy shop in Princeton. That was my very first year there, less than 2 months before my first season at Princeton, and he said, "How can I be involved with the ball club?" 10 minutes later, it was all completely hatched. I called George McGonigal, the president of the Bluefield Orioles at that time. They were Orioles then, and voila. It was a spirited rivalry that went on for the duration of the rest of baseball as a professional model in the Appalachian League.
Right.
Very spirited rivalries.
Oh, yeah.
Made the games count, and I had a manager tell me that, it is about player development at that level. The only wins and losses that count are the major league wins and losses.
Right.
And but like my manager told me one year that we were playing horribly bad, no chance of a playoff spot. The Mercer Cup still gives these players a chance to win a title. Of course, you're not going to win a ring, but you will wear a T-shirt that says Mercer Cup
That's
chance.
right. Gives them something to shoot for. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Keeps it interest alive. And from experience, when that, the ultimate goal out there is taken away from you, you got to have something to play for. And that's pretty awesome. And I do, like I said, everybody's heard of the Mercer Cup, but I didn't know you're the one that got the start on that. I also read here too, and I said I wasn't going to read all this, but I can't help but just keep going back to this. You were the 5-time winner of the Appalachian League Award of Promotional Excellence, 2002, 2005, 10, 11, and 12. And this honor is given annually to the individual that is determined by a vote of Appalachian League executives to best promote and publicize his team while also having an attractive promotional schedule for his team's games. Awesome.
Well, it is. I mean, it's very competitive. I mean, there's 10 teams in our league, and of course, it's voted on by the general managers of the league each year. And it's something to win it 5 times, but the last 3 was 3 years in a row.
Right.
And very proud of that, because at baseball at that level, that's what it's about.
Right.
It's easy to get the hardcore baseball fan there. That's not a problem. You could have a thing where we're throwing knives at them and they'd still come in.
Oh, yeah.
But it's to get everybody else and to make the person that's the least interested in the family wanting to get there.
Right.
And if you do that, then you've gotten everybody.
Yep. You were inducted into the Appalachian League Hall of Fame in 2019. Tell us your feelings about that. I know that was a tremendous honor for you.
Well, it is, and it was very. Actually, I learned about it right after my last season with the Miners, and they just called and said you are in. I am honored that to date. I mean, Princeton's had a franchise since 1988, and I'm the only member of that franchise that's in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
But to be voted on by your peers, that's the greatest award you have. I mean, it's not a popularity contest or anything like that. You're being voted on by the other people in the league that do exactly the same job
thing.
you do.
Yep, right.
And very big honor. And at the time I went in, the Appalachian League's been in existence in the modern form since 1957. We could take 9-10 teams a year times 30, 40 players a team, administrators, and multiply that from 1957 to 2019. That's 62 years.
Right.
And I was one of the first 20 to ever go into this Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And
awesome.
it's very humbling, and I wear that very proudly, and remain an advocate for what the Appalachian League's all about.
Right. You wound up, like you said, your time at with the Prospect League over with the Miners. We worked over there together. What was the big difference? I've always I never asked you this, and of course I've watched baseball enough to know, but the big difference for you as far as in the marketing end and the sales and all that, the big difference for you from say Princeton to Beckley.
Well, it's a little hard to explain because the operationally Princeton operates one way and the Miners organization operates another way.
Right.
Of course, obviously we were selling bigger packages with the Miners. And I found that most of the advertisers with the Miners, they were more interested in the advertising components such as wall signs, print ads, things like that. Never really got the kind of promotional nights I wanted over there. Well, I mean, we had some good ones every year, 2 or 3. We always did manage to have some sort of promotion, giveaway or ticket special every night with the Miners. But day in and day out, it wasn't where I'd liked it to have been. Of course, the staple with the Miners, of course, is the fireworks night, which are tremendous.
Yep.
And we did have some good giveaways, like some T-shirt giveaways, hat giveaways, but not as many per year as I'd like to have. Because when you do premiums with your logo, I love those walking billboards out there, whether they're in your back pocket in your wallet or a T-shirt or a hat or whatever. We had some, but not as many as I would have liked to have had.
Right. You've witnessed some changes in that level. here recently. In fact, with with the major leagues deciding to do some different stuff. What impact have you seen so far that's had on our baseball in the area, and what do you think is going to happen in the future with it?
Well, number one, obviously, and of course, we're not talking about the Prospect League, right? And we're talking about the Appalachian League.
Right.
First off, the fans just had to get used to a little bit different way of doing things. Of course, the people that were GMs in that league, I kind of warned them. I said, no, this is different. You're not working with a professional team that are employees of a major league team.
Right.
You're talking about kids that revolving door is going to go like this.
Right.
And, a manager could leave the ballpark one night and the kids' locker's full. He comes in the next day, the locker's empty, just to find out the kids went to the beach.
Right.
And when they're collegiate level players, you really don't have the tail can more wag the dog there.
Right.
So that's one of the big differences.
Right. Yeah, and I think I think it was a sad thing for areas like ours, because we had so much good baseball in our area with Princeton, Bluefield, Beckley, the West Virginia Black Bears down in Charleston, and it has changed it. It's changed all of it, and I don't know if it's for the better or not. You know what I mean? I think obviously probably the level of play is going to suffer just a little bit, but I think ultimately, once everybody figures it out. And this will be, of course, you had the COVID year that kind of screwed everybody up. So we're just now, I think they're just now kind of getting a grasp on how to do things and what to do and how to run their organizations.
But there is the common denominator, and that's just that, baseball, more than any sport, it seems like it blends all the different socioeconomic strata. And that's some of the things I talk about in this book. And the one thing I want to drive home, and you've read the biggest. Listen, folks, he's read more than half of this.
That's right.
I'm looking at the marker here, but it is the fact that this book is the stories. And I know you've noticed from reading, it's not a statistics manual or anything like that.
Right.
So whether you like baseball or not, this is about stories and people and characters, and they all blend into this common love of baseball. And if you've seen, there's a lot of different angles here that, with that one root of baseball, leads into some zaniness every now and then.
Sure does. Well, I know
that's what this book's all about.
And I know when we talk about, the minors, we don't talk about, hey, Jim, you remember that time that we played, the Danville Dans and over. We don't say that.
Well, we don't talk about a guy he laid off until he got that curveball, 2-2 count, and got in.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at people that's got traditions like. You'll have a fan that, like, he takes it upon himself. He wants to wear a different cap to the ball game every night.
Right.
Or a guy that, even though it never rains, he brings an umbrella every night.
Right.
And after all, the umbrella works. He never opens it.
That's right.
So
That's right.
those just, I don't want to give away too much, but those are the sort of things that you'll find in this book.
Well, that leads me to my next question, and that is, what inspired you to write this book? I mean, I know you have years of experience, and I'm sure tons of stories to tell, obviously. But what inspired you to say, I'm going to write a book?
Number one, of course, and you might have remember from reading book at a young age, even as a grade school, I'm writing my own little sports books.
Right.
And then, of course, I graduated with a journalism degree in 1980 with a emphasis toward print journalism. And I think anybody that's got a journalism background, they've always got that hankering that they want to write a book.
Right.
And so what I did, Greg, I retired on May 15th of 20, and for 1 year, I did nothing but just write down notes. So here's what happened to me in 92, 93, 94, et cetera. And then, of course, I had to weed that out.
Right.
And then 1 year later, I started writing it almost the very day, May 15th of 21. Ceremonial just started that day. And by spring, I was done. And then I still hadn't really got the production scenario the way I wanted it. So it laid here until we launched this book, Greg, on November 12th. And I was telling you, in the first 5 days, we shipped orders for this book to readers in 13 different states in just the first 5 days.
Wow.
So the book is only less than 3 weeks. This is the 1st of December. So, we started on 12th of November, and it's still steadily going.
Right. So I don't know. I'm not looking at the camera angle, but so you can see it. The name of it is My Fortunate Detour. And, one of my questions was that, the book's title kind of sums up the story, My Fortunate Detour. And I think that when you read that title, a lot of us know exactly my age. We know exactly what you're talking about there.
Well-
And so tell us a little bit about. And again, we want you to read the book, so we don't want Jim to give a total summary of it, but a little bit about the book and that detour and just a general idea of it.
Well, there's several detours. Number one, I went in a certain way of life, and one interesting thing about this cover, if you remember, there was a baseball hitting
Yes.
this detour
Yeah,
sign.
yeah.
So that gives you a clue there.
Yeah, that's right.
My life was already patterning a certain direction. Then all of a sudden this happens, everything changes. Just a series of moves. One thing the readers will find interesting is how I wound up getting the Princeton job.
Right.
And let's put it this way: I was not the first guy
Right.
that went to Princeton to interview from the club I was with, the Huntington Cubs.
Right.
And but there's a little more to it, and then just because of that one detour, led me there. Just certain, and I met my wife in Princeton in 2000, and just one person that went that way. Our son works in Major League Baseball. He works for Tampa Bay.
Right.
He just finished his 13th year. Once again, just one. He doesn't. Not that I'm any great shakes, but if he doesn't meet me, I mean, how does all this
Right,
happen?
right.
And there'll be other, especially my son. Some of the people that actually pre-read the book. There's 3 people we had pre-read it.
Right.
And they said the most interesting things was some of the detours he went through.
Right.
Not just from going to WVU, where he graduated with a marketing degree, and I took him to some of the baseball winter meetings. But some of the interesting things that happened to him in Florida, because of just
Right.
from things that started here in Princeton. That with one thing, if this had not happened, some very big things in his personal
Right.
life wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was at a training not too long ago, and the speaker at that training was talking about there's moments in your life that are life altering. There are these big moments that happen. Everybody has them. It may be something good, it may be something bad, and you may have 2 or 3 of them. You may have 20 of them. You may have one. But there are these moments in life that are defining moments, and we all have those. But yours explains it very well, and how those defining moments shaped who you were, shaped what you became, and your love of the game obviously, poured out through all of that, and that's what makes it to me, so interesting, because I kind of got the feeling as I'm reading it. Of course, I've known you long enough to know this, but as I'm reading it,
I'm getting scared here.
well, you can just, you can feel the passion,
Yeah.
the passion for the game and the passion
Right.
for what you were doing and your job. And it's just, you can tell that. You get that feeling when you're reading the book, and it's gripping. It keeps you want to keep reading. It's not one of those books where you read a page or two, throw it down, go back a week later. You pick it up and start reading it. Well, you want to read one more page. Before you know it, you're halfway through it.
Well,
and
I
it's
know
good.
I know you have a busy schedule, and you kind of downplayed this a little bit. I think you're further along than you'll take credit for. But the other thing on the back.
Don't tell my boss at work.
Oh, is that where it's taking place? Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
On the back end, though, since the book has come out, just over this period since November 12th, to hear, and I couldn't, the kind of hours I had to put in on my job, and I
Right,
know you read
right,
enough here to know that it was a lot.
Right.
Just now that I'm retired and I'm on the other end of it now, I've had former players call me. We get to visit a little bit, other GMs. I'm now on the circuit that, I can kind of like when you go to Artie
Right,
for
right,
one of
right,
these coaches
right,
things,
right.
and you watch them all, and like we did that thing in July up there, and the one in October. You see all these people come in, and every one of these people already got a fantastic resume like this
right,
long.
right.
And you know what? They don't have to worry about getting back to work or whatever.
Right,
They're there to
Enjoyed it.
to
Yeah.
swap them, and that's the payback
Right.
for everything that you put into it.
Right,
And you
right.
can never take that away.
That's right.
You
That's
cannot
right.
take that memory away.
Yep. So it is. It's an enjoyable time, and I know you're enjoying getting out and talking about this book and selling the book. And we want to talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. But let's get a quick break in. When we come back, we're going to tell you how you can get your own copy of the book, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the process of writing it and that sort of thing. And again, appreciate you being here. It's always fun to talk to you. We talk frequently, but we never seemed to have enough time, except when we drove to Artie together. We had plenty of time that day.
You know, really.
When you go to Artie, you can get a lot of
Especially the
things
first
done.
time for
Right, the
you.
first time, yeah. When you drive down there, you can get a lot of things done in between leaving and getting there.
Well, of course, usually when we got acquainted, our talks were usually later at night on those
Right.
long Prospect League games.
Yes. When the score would be 18-13 with 47 hits and
It did the 6th inning.
in the 60th inning. All right. Let's get this quick break in. You're watching Courtside with Coach Crist. We're coming to you tonight from Southside Junction, the tap house here in Fayetteville, right here on Court Street, right beside the courthouse. Good place to come, good food, good legal beverages, and a great atmosphere. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. We'll be back with Jim Holland some more, talking about his book, My Fortunate Detour. We'll be back with Jim here in just 1 minute. Stay with us, everybody. We'll return. Welcome back to Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist. This is Jim Holland. Dave Warby's back in the shadows waiting it out. We are at the Southside Junction Tap House in Fayetteville. Good place to come and get you a nice meal and some good cold beverages and a nice atmosphere. We're here with, of course, the author of the book, My Fortunate Detour, Mr. Jim Holland, good friend of mine and good friend to baseball. And he's written this wonderful book about his experiences over the last 30 years or so, and it's extremely interesting, and you need to get a copy. And speaking of that, Jim, I'm going to let you just talk a little bit about how you can get your copy of the book, what you need to do, and how you need to get it.
Well, right now, Greg, I'm handling all the inventory myself, the orders, everything. I would like to think there'll come a point that, I'm still, for lack of a better word, saturating
Right.
the markets I know, like all the baseball people I've known through all the years.
Right.
The Princeton locale, the Beckley locale, the Huntington locale, the Dunbar locale,
Right.
where I'm from. And right now we're still moving good. I'm sure there'll come a point that we reach the apex of
Right,
that.
right.
And then I might consider putting it on Amazon, those
Right.
sort of platforms. But right now, you're looking at it, the author, the distributor, the packer, the mailer, the whole thing. And so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And we're getting ordered, we're every day we get more orders, ship them out.
That's
I'm
awesome.
right at the post office first every day to do it. And that's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable to meet people that like your book and believe in it and want to read it, rather than them ordering from some national thing and they're just another number, and I don't even know who in the world's buying it.
Right, exactly.
So we'll continue that point. Really, basically, right now it's very simple, and I'll say this very slowly, and we'll say it several times.
And maybe Darren can even maybe put it up on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you remember junior samples and BR 549?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Anyway, really the best way is just to contact me direct on my cell phone, which is 304-920-7100. That's 304-920-7100. I am equipped to take credit cards. And basically, we're just like in checks, cash, and credit cards. But I am able, and of course, I got a credit card machine for this endeavor, and the amount of orders we're getting from out of state is it's incredible.
Right.
And then of course we got a good local circulation, so it's really moving around. Even got somebody else in Mount Hope that's got it right now.
Awesome.
So you wouldn't have to take too many guesses as who that is, but. It's going really well. It's just been such a blessing. It's just a way for me to put my life out there a little bit. I'm proud of the things we've done, and it's my autobiography, just in the fact that you got to set myself up in childhood, so you see the baseball, and then in the end what life is like on the other side. And but you can call it an autobiography, just packed with about 65% baseball in the middle. But once again, it's about the stories, not about the stats.
Right. So just give Jim a call, or and again, Jim's cell phone number, 304-920-7100. You can give him a call or a text and order your book that way. Again, he takes credit cards and checks, cash, however you want to pay for it. You can also message us on Facebook or YouTube. Just send us a message to the New River Network or the Courtside Show, and let us know you want a book. Give us your address, and then we'll get a hold of Jim and take care of it from there. So a lot of ways, easy to get, and it's worth it. I'm telling you right now. What's the cost, Jim? Let's get that out.
Okay, the book is $23.50, and then of course you add in your 6% West Virginia sales tax, which is $1.41.
Right.
So if it's a book now, Greg, I still spend a lot of time in the Beckley area, Fayette.
Right.
Beckley, Summers County, and of course Mercer. If I can deliver it, that's it. It'll be $24.91.
Right.
And if we have to ship it, it's a one-time shipping fee of $5.
Okay.
And we had one lady get called the other day and ordered 5 books. I maintain that $5. I don't care
regardless.
if you order $1 million. I'll happily trade that $1 million times $23.50 for the $5 shipping charge.
Absolutely.
One thing I do want to mention, Greg, that we really, to get into the part about it, I learned from this book. I didn't really know it myself, but I've had 84 players that played for me at Princeton that went on to play in the big leagues.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've been there yet or not, but there is a chapter in this book that lists all 84 of those players.
That's awesome. Yep.
From some that have been gone a long time, that came in real early, to 2 that was in the World Series this year for Philadelphia, the Phillies. And a lot of interesting things. I mean, I won't call names, but I'll get your intrigue up.
Right.
During my time at Princeton, I had a future American League batting champion, a future American League MVP, a 4-time stolen base leader in the American League, an All-Star Game MVP, a Rookie of the Year, and 3 different Gold Glovers.
Wow.
All in that 24 years of running around Honeycutt Field.
That's awesome. All right, so you can get the book by calling Jim or sending us a message. $23.50, $5 to ship one time, and like I said, get as many as you want for that $5 according to Jim. So roughly, you're talking about a $25 book, and then $5 you have to have it shipped, so a $30 book, which is not very expensive for a book these days. If you go to the bookstore, you'll see.
not for a book that size, and I don't want to scare anybody off. It's obviously not scared you.
Right.
It's 356 pages.
Right.
But the page size is 5.5 by 8.5, which is basically a legal size paper folded over.
Right.
And it's a good read. And of course, after it was already done, I've said, well, boy, here's something I should have put in there or whatever. But it's really, it's just a pleasurable read. I've had a lot of good response from it. And that's what you want. You want readers like yourself that like it and say to others, like you're doing here, putting yourself out on the line, saying, this is something you really need to have.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind. And I've read. I know we had another friend over, our mutual friend Gary Griffith, who wrote a book.
Right.
I've written a couple. I've read his, and I enjoy reading these books that you guys have had these experiences, and because I enjoy baseball and am interested in it. I didn't get to experience it like you guys have because I was in the classroom all these years, but to hear these stories and to see how things work and how your life traveled along this path of baseball, very interesting.
Well, I will tell you, and of course, on the back of the book, I did have 3 people pre-read the book to just see if they was catching things I was missing. But Gary Griffith was one of those 3 people.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you've reached the part of the book yet as to how Gary Griffith and I crossed paths. But once again, fortunate detour.
Right.
Fortunate detour.
Yep.
It's an unlikely scenario that I brought Gary Griffith to Princeton in 2013.
Yep.
And we changed our radio package after 2013. And where does he wind up? The West Virginia Miners.
Yep.
But if this crossing of wires, and it's a very interesting scenario how he wound up here.
Right.
And Gary gets tickled to it this day is how he got there. But once again, folks, read the book.
Right.
And that landed him that 1 year at Princeton, all the years up here with the Miners, and you and I, lifelong friend.
Yep.
And,
That's right.
Because Gary Griffith, when he takes you as a friend, you're in.
Yep. I hear from him at least twice a week.
Quality individual.
Yep. He watches the show and comments, and I listen to him call basketball games, and he returns the favor by listening to me and listening to our show. Sends me a lot of messages. I want to ask you another question here before we run out of time about writing this book. First of all, everybody talks about writing a book. I mean, we've all said, man, I'd like to write a book about that. I'd like to write a book about that. How difficult did you find it? I know you said you sat down and wrote all these notes, but when you actually get to writing and trying to put it all together, how difficult a task was that?
Well, writing comes naturally to me, but that didn't mean it was a quick job because it wasn't.
Right.
I didn't. Now, I had just a day or two every now and then. I'd write all day. Most of the time, I'd fool with it for bad choice of words. Fool with it. I mean, I worked on it for, hour or two one day, and then maybe I'd take 3 days off from it, and just a little more until it was done the way that I wanted it. And so no, it's. Listen, it was just like going to work in baseball every day. It's like, when I retired, you might remember the statement I made. We talk about awards here and stuff like that, but you know what? Every day you get paid to work in sports. That's an award every day. Every day.
Yep.
Something you love. And now that it's over, I say, well, I might have done that for nothing.
Right.
But I mean, just, I don't know how to explain it. Just all the years you coached, and it's hard to explain to people that's not in it, but sports has an adhesive that it gets you, and you can't get away from it. And if you get away from it, like you got away from coaching, I got away from this, or from the general manager business, well, I'm getting out doing this.
Right.
Both of us try to help Tex Williams with his projects, and there's always the bond. It's a fraternity that I'm blessed to have done this, to meet people like you and Tex Williams and Steve Crozier, and the list goes on and on.
Yep.
And you just can't, I don't know how to explain it, but to answer your question, it really wasn't that hard for me.
Right.
And, but I would tell anybody that was going to do it, first off, everybody's life is a biography. Yours, anybody here, the first person you walk into on the street, because every life is different.
Right.
Nobody can write the exact same book.
Right.
And, but just take your time, do the notes, outline. In my case, I took a year. Just said, I'm going to take my time because things come up.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're still coming up.
As you say, I'm sure you
and,
start thinking of things, man, I should have put that
but
in.
it's the way to do it. I just really enjoy it. And everybody, you remember John Madden, the book he wrote? You remember what his first book was? Hey, I wrote a book.
Hey, I wrote
that
a
was
book.
the title.
Yep.
And so I've done that now.
Well, when you start thinking of these things after the fact, you think of things that you'd like to have put in there. It's when you need to make some more notes so you can get ready for number 2.
Well, I don't know about that because I'm enjoying retirement, and I'm getting to do a lot of things that was like when I retired. Somebody asked me, they said, "What are you going to do with yourself?" I said, "Well, when you're totally devoted to the game for 30 years, I've got a 30-year to-do list."
Right. Yeah.
And fortunately, through the first couple of years, my wife and I are working on some projects, home projects, and I've put a dent in it.
Yeah.
Pretty proud of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you look at that sometimes and think, how did I ever have time to do anything? Because now that you're retired and you're trying to get things done, you don't have any time to do them now, and you're thinking, that's what I always thought when I coached. I'm thinking, how did I ever get my grass cut? How did I ever do any of this stuff? Because I don't have time to do it now, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, I can tell you, and it's not in the book, so I'll just tell you this one. There were times, and we have a pretty large yard. I'd jump on that John Deere when I come in from the ballpark about 12:30 at night. I mean, there's a headlight on that thing for some reason.
That's right.
And if you mow long enough, even in the dark, you're going to hit everything. So
That's exactly
guilty,
right.
guilty. I've done that.
Yeah, I think we all probably have. So, but yeah, I'm sure you thought of that since you've retired. How did you have time to get anything done? Well, Jim, I tell you what, it's been a pleasure to have you on. It's been a pleasure to read this book. And again, I want to encourage everyone, get you a copy. You can call Jim. We'll give you his number again before we get off the air. You can send us a message on Courtside or on the New River Network. Either one, just send us a message. You guys know my phone number as well. Send me a message, and we'll get it to Jim and make sure you get you a copy of it, and we'll keep it displayed so people won't forget. And because it's worth reading, and we like to support our local folks regardless of what their endeavors are, and I think this is something that's important to our area, and I think it's important to baseball, and I think it's invaluable, and I'm glad you did it.
Well, it does paint the picture of what Southern West Virginia is all about. Because my whole career, I did the 2 years at Huntington, then the 24 at Princeton, and then the 4 of the minors. So Huntington, you might call that Western West Virginia, but the rest of it's down here. And we are also blessed to live where we live in the way this world is today.
Oh, yeah.
We are so very thankful that we live where we live.
Yep.
And this paints the picture to people otherwise. A lot of the small town atmosphere and talking about the people that do the little things at your ballpark to help you.
Yep.
So, yes, I think people will really enjoy it.
Oh, I think so, too. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the book again, and we'll look forward to having you back again to talk about it some more. So when the sales start slowing down, we'll come back on the show and see if that perks them up a little bit again.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll get you back on and talk about it some more. This is awesome. And I think once I finish up reading it, I'll probably be calling you, all right, and I want to hear about this and hear about this.
I'll be glad to.
Because I've seen some things in there I want to ask Jim about that. But I'm saving them all to ask you at one time, so I'll get around to that.
We'll certainly do that over a meal.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, let's get a quick break in here, and we'll come back and wrap this thing up from the Southside Junction, the tap house here in Fayetteville, West Virginia, located here on Court Street, right beside the courthouse. Come on out. I'm Greg Crist. That is Mr. Jim Holland, the author of the book My Fortunate Detour, Over in the Shadows of Dave Gorby. He'll be back with me here in just a minute when we return from this message. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Courtside with Coach Chris show. Greg Crist, Dave Gorby. We've been enjoying our conversation with Mr. Jim Holland, the author of the book, My Fortunate Detour. Dave, been a pretty good night, man.
Yep. Check off another good guest.
That's right. Yep. We just, I don't know how we make it so good and sell it so cheap.
I haven't heard you say that. I haven't heard you say that for a long time.
That's right. So you hear
That may have been like the old show.
That's right.
saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I hope people hear that and understand that.
Right.
How do we do it so good and sell it so cheap? Are we starting to grovel again? Yeah, we can't do that. All right. That's going to do it for another edition of Courtside with Coach Chris. Again, we appreciate Mr. Jim Holland for joining us with his book tonight. I want to encourage you to get that book. I'll give you his number one more time, 304-920-7100. And you can just text him, give him a call, send us a message, text one of us. We'll get the word to him. He gets that book sent out to you. It is well worth the little bit of money you put into it. You need to get it and read it. It's a good read. So we appreciate Jim for coming over, making the trip over here to Fayetteville tonight to join us. We also appreciate Dr. Crist, Muggy McLeod, and Bear Bryan for joining us. I know you were happy to have those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
I think Did you thank the Tap House already?
I have not thanked the Tap House, but we do appreciate the Tap House for allowing us to come in here and take up a little bit of their space.
I'm telling you, it's a nice little...
Neat little place. Isn't it?
Yeah, neat little place.
Yep, people need to check it out right here on Court Street, right beside the courthouse in Fayetteville. Great food, good cold beverages, legal beverages. So come on over and help yourself.
Your to-go is right there.
I got my order to go. That's
Yeah.
my dinner for tonight.
Yep.
So, all right, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We look forward to coming to you again next Thursday night, as we always do. We're not sure where we'll be yet. There's a possibility we'll be in Charleston, but we may hang out in this area. We don't know yet. Either next week or the week after, we're going to Charleston.
Okay.
So we'll be letting folks know. We'll also be letting you know about our schedule. Otherwise, as we go, you can tune in Facebook, YouTube, Roku TV. Check it out. We'll be posting things to let everybody know what we got coming up. And again, get on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. Same thing on Facebook. Hit us a like and a follow. We appreciate that. All right, that's going to do it for tonight from Southside Junction Tap House in Fayetteville. You've been watching the Courtside with Coach Chris show, and we appreciate it.
Who hosts the sports show with David Gorby? Courtside with Coach Chris, and sexy and funny and smart as can be. Courtside with Coach Chris. He's talking with special guests week after week. Courtside with Coach Chris. So switch to NRN and take a long peek. Courtside with Coach Chris. Courtside with Coach Chris. Courtside with Coach Chris. Courtside with Coach Chris.